Welcome to Cliff Notes, the podcast where business meets inspiration and strategy meets balance. I'm Brandon Clifford, CEO of Business Alliance Inc., entrepreneur, investor, and your guide through the world of business, franchising, and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, an inspiring franchisee, or just someone looking for actionable advice to take your career to the next level, Cliff Notes is here for you. Join me as we break down the complexities of business and life into bite-sized, actionable insights. This is Cliff Notes, your shortcut to success.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cliff Notes, where we bring you quick, insightful strategies to help you succeed in business and in life. I'm your host, Brandon Clifford. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that truly sets great leaders and sales professionals apart. It's emotional intelligence. Okay, so we've all heard the saying, people don't leave companies, they leave managers. And more often than not, the difference between a great leader and an average one, it's not a technical skill. It boils down to emotional intelligence. Okay, and so Warren Buffett once said, if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money. Okay, so this applies not just to investing, but also just to business, leadership, even sales, right? Whether you're leading a team, you're trying to close deals, or just trying to level up your personal, professional game. Today, this episode right here is going to be for you. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to go over three main things. Number one, how emotional intelligence impacts leadership and sales. Number two, practical ways to develop self-awareness and empathy. And number three, the power of staying calm under pressure. All right. So let's just jump right in here and get going with number one. What is emotional intelligence and why does it matter? So let's define emotional intelligence. Okay, it's the ability to recognize, to understand, and manage your own emotions. Okay. And while also being able to recognize, understand, and influence other people's emotions. Okay. And so Harvard Business School research, it shows that emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 90% of what sets high performers apart from their peers. That's huge, 90%. So just emotional intelligence alone accounts for a 90% difference between high performers and their peers. And so why does that matter in business? Okay. So leaders with high emotional intelligence, they're going to inspire trust. They boost morale. They're the ones that create high performing teams. Salespeople, sales professionals with high emotional intelligence, they close more deals because they can anticipate a customer's needs and respond more efficiently than others. And entrepreneurs and business owners who can manage their own emotions, they're going to make better strategic decisions. Let's turn to the Bible for some wisdom on this, right? So if you go to Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 32, it says, "The patient man is better than the valiant, and he that rules his spirit better than he that takes cities." So in other words, strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. Emotional intelligence, it's about self-control, it's about patience, and it's going to help you grow in wisdom and how you lead, how you sell, and how you build relationships. So let's get practical. How do we develop more and better emotional intelligence, right? Because it's not something that we're born with. Emotional intelligence isn't a skill, or a gift, quote unquote. It's actually a skill. It's something that you can train and you can develop. Okay. And like here, let's just go over some key areas that you can focus on to help you grow in self-awareness and empathy. Okay. So number one, first thing you can do is just understand your own emotions. So take some time and pay attention to your triggers. What are the situations that make you frustrated? What causes anxiety for you? What makes you stress? A great way to do this, maybe it's some journaling or even just simple self-reflection, doing a quick, it's called an examination of conscience at the end of the day, every single day, and review in your day what situations frustrated you, where did you become angry. Another great way to grow in self-awareness is actually to seek feedback from others. Okay, we see ourselves in a light that others can't, right? Or can't, others see us in a light that we can't see ourselves, right? We have blind spots around us all the time, right? And so if you seek feedback from others, it can be very telling to how you manage your emotions. All right, so seek out a trusted partner, whether it's a spouse a sibling, a good friend, a coworker, a business partner, someone who you know will be brutally honest with you, who won't judge you and you won't judge them, and share it with each other. Tell each other about your blind spots. That's going to help you grow and understand your own emotions, right? So, great quote from Peter Drucker. He's a legendary business consultant. Lots of great books he's written. If you can go seek him out, he says if you cannot manage other people unless you manage yourself first, right? So that's why it's important to understand your own emotions. If you can't manage yourself, you're never going to be able to manage people, right? So a simple tool to work on this is called the pause technique, right? And so basically, before reacting to some sort of a stressful situation, just take a breath, take a moment, just pause. Don't be in such a rush to respond to that text message, to that email, to that Facebook comment, whatever it might be. Take a minute, ask yourself, okay, why am I feeling this way? And what is the best response instead of just a fast response? Okay. So, number two, let's talk about empathy and understanding other people's emotions, right? So, how can we become better at understanding other people's emotions? So, first, listen. Listen to others and understand them. Don't just respond. Too often are people just listening for when that person will stop talking so that they can inject into the conversation, right? But actually practice active listening, trying to understand what these people are saying before you respond to something. Even taking a moment, if someone asks you a question and being quiet for a second to digest it, that's actually a good nonverbal cue to the other person that you're actually trying to come up with an actual response, not just any response. So speaking of nonverbal cues, read their nonverbal cues, body language and tone of voice. Like that often says way more than words, especially in this world that we live in today with all the digitized communication that we have. This is something that we've lost quite a bit. And that's why more often than not, a lot of times my response to emails or to text messages is, hey, how about we hop on a phone call or a Zoom meeting to discuss this, right? Because if you're not getting the body language or the voice inflection, it's really hard to understand other people's emotions. So just, constantly when you're in communications with others, you just need to ask yourself, if I were them, how would I feel in this moment? And that's not an easy thing to do, but the best way to understand other people's emotions is try to always look at it from their perspective. Okay. A quote to back this up from John Maxwell. He's a leadership expert, one of the best authors, great books out there as well. Find him, read him. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. Right. So empathy in leadership and sales, it's not just about what you say, it's how you make people feel. Right. And how you make people feel is going to lead to the results that that you will get. So next, how can we start to regulate our emotions? What you need to do is figure out how to stay calm under pressure. Okay. Which is easier said than done. But here's some just simple tips that I've learned along the way of how to stay calm under pressure. First and foremost, try to reframe the situation, reframe the stress. Instead of seeing challenges, threats, and oh, the sky's falling, oh, nothing works out for me, see it as a growth opportunity. Okay. So this new, I don't know, you thought you had a deal that was closing tomorrow, and the individual says that a life situation happened and they need to push off the closing to next week. Okay, well, don't see that as a threat. Oh, my deal's going to close. It's just an opportunity for you to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's and you keep in touch, and it's not to keep it going until next week. And that kind of leads into the next tip for staying calm under pressure is make sure you always focus on your response on what you can control, right? And just control what you can. If it's not controllable, if it's a life situation, if someone's mother, spouse died uncontrollably, that's not something you can control, right? So don't let uncontrollables throw you off course. And so this a simple way to keep this going and stay calm is to develop some sort of a mental routine where you're going to step outside a couple times a day and get some fresh air. You're going to take a walk, just a quick 5-minute walk. If you work from home, maybe around your house, take a quick lap outside. You just do a quick breathing exercise. Get away from the screens. Get off the computer, get off the Zoom for a couple minutes, and go outside and take a quick walk. It'll help your mental routine before you go into those big, heavy meetings. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health. Quick quote from a Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink. He says, "Discipline equals freedom. If you control your emotions, you can control your outcomes." Okay, so let's go into how talk a little bit more deeply about staying calm under pressure. Because in business, things are always going to go wrong, right? And like I said before, maybe it's a deal falling through. Maybe you have a tough client who's just always asking for more. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you have to have with an employee or a direct report. Maybe it's some sort of high stakes negotiation. You're about to close a big giant deal and the closing's happening. There's still some final pieces that you have to get together. Your ability to stay calm under pressure, that's going to make or break all those situations, right? So how can you handle that? Like we said before, to summarize it, reframe the situation, control what you can, and embrace patience, for sure, as wisdom, right? So go to the Epistle of St. James. It says, everyone should be swift to hear, but slow to speak and slow to anger. Okay, so that's emotional intelligence in action, right? Another example. All right, everyone's probably heard the story of Captain Sully Sullenberg, right? Sullenberger, I think his name might be, the Miracle of the Hudson, happened back in 2009. It was like January 15th, 2009. He's a pilot, right? I think there's a book or maybe even a movie out there called The Miracle on the Hudson. And he's flying over the Hudson River. A flock of geese strikes his plane, flies right into it. Right during takeoff, just leaving LaGuardia Airport, causes both engines to fail. So the plane's quickly losing altitude. Sully has 208 seconds to act. 200 seconds, okay, to act. What could have happened in that situation? He could have panicked, lots of confusion, could have rushed to some decision that would have resulted in hundreds of lives lost. But what did Sully do instead? He stayed calm. He quickly assessed the situation, rejected any sort of dangerous options. He didn't want to turn around and try to go back and land, right? And then he used clear communication with his crew and air traffic control. And he was able to execute a perfect water landing on the Hudson River. It saved all 155 passengers and all the crew, right? And in his own words, and I quote, says, one way of looking at this might be that for 42 years, I've been making small, regular deposits into this bank of experience, education, and training. And on January 15th, the balance was sufficient so that I could make a very large withdrawal. So it's just like Sully, great leaders in business, they're going to stay calm in all the small things. They're going to assess the situation logically and act decisively, building up that bank of experience, especially when things go wrong, especially sales negotiations, financial setbacks, leadership changes, challenges, emotional intelligence. It's what's going to separate reactionary leaders from high impact decision makers. So remember, in a moment of crisis, first thing to do is slow down, breathe, assess, and then make the best decision possible with all the information you have at hand. And at the end of the day, emotional intelligence, it's not about being perfect, but it's about being aware, adaptable, and resilient. All right, so let's recap today's key takeaways. Right, number one, emotional intelligence. It's the key driver of success in leadership and in sales. Self-awareness and empathy. It's going to help you connect, influence, and lead your people much more effectively. And under the most important thing is just try to stay calm under pressure. That's always going to give you an edge, whether it's in a negotiation, you're trying to close a deal, or just make a decision in life, right? So here's the challenge for you all here this week. What I want you to do is just pick one emotional intelligence skill to focus on. Start making deposits in that bank account of wisdom, right? So maybe it's going to be pausing before reacting or pausing before responding to an email. Maybe it's going to be listening more active, right? So when you're in a meeting, especially a virtual meeting, not being on your email during that meeting, right? Maybe it's going to be managing your stress a little bit better by taking a walk throughout the day, right? So just pick one of those emotional skills and focus on it this week, and then another one the next week, and another one the next week, right? So again, that's the note for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop me a message on LinkedIn, send me a DM if you're enjoying this show. And what's one key takeaway from today's episode that you're going to apply? Like we talked about before, share that in the comments, because once you share it, then it can become not just a pie in the sky goal, but an actual action that you will follow up on, right? But as always, if you found this episode helpful, and you know someone else who maybe struggles with emotional intelligence and you think it'll help them, share it with a friend or a colleague. Like I said, that's the note for today. Thank you so much for tuning into Cliff Notes. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Business Alliance Insights. I hope you're walking away with some valuable insights to help grow and strengthen your business. If you're looking to connect with other business leaders, franchisors, franchisees, brokers, or even just looking to explore more tools to scale your business, be sure to get connected to our BAI network and check out FranLink, our exclusive social media platform built solely for our members. You can learn more about it and everything Business Alliance Inc. has to offer by visiting businessallianceinc.com. Again, that's businessallianceinc.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other business leaders who are ready to take their businesses, their brands to the next level.